Alright, hello everybody. Today I have a video for you about one of my favorite decks to actually play, and probably the one that I'll be doing some Store Championships with for at least a few months until the next deck comes out. This is the Bloomlordmon deck. And this deck is all grass, no bricks. Hopefully, I just like that that mantra right there. But let's start off with the eggs, of course. Well, we run 4 of the Argomons. Argomons, you're going to have a lot of suspended Digimon. If they survive at the end, the Argomon will give you 1 memory for each of those inheritors that are on there. That's pretty good. I also do happen to run a Gummymon. In my testing, I come across just running out of eggs pretty often. So you're gonna suspend your opponent sometimes, and being able to draw a card from that is pretty good. So I go ahead and just run 1 Gummymon. Ideally, you don't want to see the Gummymon. You want to see Argomon, and you want that Digimon to stay on the field. But that 5th egg has been key for me, especially in the long-winded games like mirror matches and things like that. But I wouldn't blame you if you run 4 of the Baby Argo. It's not a bad card. You run 4 of the Palmon, the Searcher, real 4, add 1 vegetation or plant, and then 1 fairy. That fairy ideally is Bloomlordmon, and of course you want to draw your pieces for your combo. Palmon's a vegetation card, which you'll see in a little bit. It's really important that you want to have a lot of vegetation, fairy, or plant cards in this deck, because you're gonna be looking for them, you're gonna pick them up, and you gain valuable abilities based off of that. So we have Palmon as one of our rookies. We also play Palmon. 4 of the players can play Digimon by effects. That includes yourself, but that also allows you to control the field. It keeps your opponent from playing Digimon when you don't want them to. Right? You can always Digivolve on top of this. That's not a problem. But you do gotta be careful with this card that you don't keep yourself from being able to play Digimon via effects. I personally run 4, and I keep it in mind. It hasn't been a problem yet, but it has been a problem for my opponents when they play a Palmon and they forget in that situation. But it is a vegetation card that you can play, and it's coming in use. And if you're a player that knows how to play, you can kind of get around the Palmon's ability to play cards. We also have a Palmon that, when suspended, it suspends your opponent's Digimon. That's come in handy plenty of times. Only run 2, and again, they are also vegetation cards that you can play on the field for free, as this deck does. And then you can suspend it. Whenever you suspend it with an effect, it also suspends your opponent's Digimon, and then you can open them up for an attack. It's pretty. Mushroomon. I run 2 Mushroomon. They have 3000 DP. And they are vegetation, so they are targets for all of our abilities. They play for 2 if you need to hard drop it, and Digivolve for 0. Pretty good card for this deck. I only run 2 though, because you do need to make some move for Terriermon. Terriermon has come in clutch, keeping your opponent from gaining memory. Terriermon is essentially, I pull up the board, put that at Terriermon. If your opponent happens to not have a tamer or something, or really relies on the gaining memory, Terriermon will put a stop to that, and you can usually cap off a game. So we do run 14 rookies. 14 rookies has been pretty good. No bricky situations, but if you do get kind of bricky, there are cards that you can play for cheap later on. We'll talk about them in just a second. I played 4 Sunflowmon. They Digivolve for 2, but when Digivolving, you can suspend a green Digimon to play a vegetation, plant, or fairy that has 3000 DP or less for free. So you can actually, on top of Palmon, Digivolving for 2, you can suspend yourself and then play another Palmon if you have it in your hand and replace it that way. You can also play a Palmon and search some cards that way. You know, get your grind going that way. It's a pretty good combo. Sunflowmon's a good card, and it's inherited. When an effect suspends one of your own Digimon, you draw 1, and you'll have plenty of that situation here in this deck. You'll see in a second. Next we have 4 red veggies. They are 3000 DP vegetation. They Digivolve for 1. This is just cheap. If you don't have a rookie, you can put this down for 3. That's not a big deal, and then you can go to your level 4s pretty easily. So this deck, it doesn't break because you have 3 cheap options as well. Cheap options on your level 4. So you're not dropping 5 or 6 play cost with champions if you do break. One that is 4 is Weedmon, which looks a lot like RedVegiemon and Vegiemon. Digivolves for 1, 3000 DP, so it would get played via the effects of some of the other cards in this deck, and it would gain 1 memory from Digibursting. There's not a whole lot of Digibursting in this deck, but I did add a little spice that tries to take advantage of that. But yeah, Weedmon is there for the 3000 DP and the 1 Digivolution, so it's there to get on the field for cheap. Next, 3 Blossomons, Digi-Absorption. You can, if you put down one of your champions, you can self-tap and Digivolve on top of it for free. Nothing crazy. We also have 1 Argomon, a card that's limited to 1. If honestly, if these were, if Argomon wasn't limited, these would all be Argomons. Argomon, of course, does the same thing. Digivolves for free if you suspend one of your Digimon, which I can out of this deck. And then Inherited lets you play a level 3 green, which you have plenty of. Right, so I'm gonna put these here with the Blossomon. They're essentially similar. But let's make sure that we have it right there. We also play 3 Ajatarmon. It Digivolves for 3. There's no reduction of this Digivolution cost, unfortunately for you. But if you suspend a Gran Digimon, you can play for free a Vegetation Plant or Fairy that is 3,000 or less. So if you have this out, you can tap it, and it will play out one of the, pretty much all of these cards up here except for the other level 5s. You can play any of them for free. You suspend, of course. That's not really free, I guess. But yeah, pretty good ability. You want to take advantage of that. You also have the Cherrymon that Digi-Absorbs 2. It costs 3, but it Digi-Absorbs 2, meaning you can Digi-Evolve for 1. And it acts kind of like a blocker. You can actually, when your opponent attacks, you can make them target a different Digimon that is suspended. So you could use this as kind of your blocker. If your opponent swings with a small Digimon, Cherrymon will essentially force them to attack a different Digimon. Or if you want to keep something alive, Cherrymon does that pretty well. It's a pretty good card. Of course, the namesake of the deck, Bloomlordmon. Bloomlordmon Digivolves for 4. But when it Digivolves, you can suspend one of your Digimon, and then you gain 1 memory for each suspended Digimon with Vegetable, Plant, or Fairy. So this deck is meant to swarm the field. Then Bloomlord comes out, gains memory, essentially sometimes coming out for free, and then it unsuspends if you have, of course, if you gain 2 memory or more, you unsuspend, and you gain Piercing, and then if you have 2 suspended Digimon, for every 2 suspended Digimon you have in play, you gain 1 security check plus and 2000 DP. So if you only have 2 other vegetation, you could be swinging Piercing for 14 and doing 2 security checks, and more so if you have bigger, stronger vegetable Digimon. And this is already pretty strong for 12. Bloomlordmon is a great card in this deck that takes advantage of the fact that all the other cards are playable pretty easily. Next we have Hydramon. Hydramon swings for 13. When Digivolving, you can suspend one of your own or your opponent's Digimon. If you do happen to select your opponent's Digimon, however, you gain 1 memory for each other vegetation, plant, or fairy that you have in play, which is awesome. And if you have 2 or more on the field, you bottom deck one of your opponent's Digimon at the end of your turn, which comes in handy pretty good. So Hydramon, your opponent has to deal with. 3 is solid. I don't like running 3 sometimes, but honestly 3 has been a ratio that I'm happy with, so I will continue running 3 now. I run 1 Shivamon. Shivamon, of course, when suspended, you're going to end up with a lot of turns suspended Digimon. Shivamon has 12k. If it's early in the game, you have Shivamon out there suspending every so often. Remember, your opponent, if every single one of your Digimon is suspended, they cannot use options, and then of course when it unsuspends at the beginning of the turn, they have to trash a card from their security. It's incredible. Shivamon is good. I like it at 1 because it doesn't hold a whole lot else. Here's my spice. Rafflesimon, Fairy type, Digiburst for 2. Right? When it Digiburst for 2, all of your Digimon get plus 2000. So all of these little guys can swing bigger. Particularly good in a mirror match. And then when one of your Digimon activates Digiburst, one of your opponent's Digimon can't attack or block. Rafflesia comes with a stun and it Digivolves from 1 from a level 6. So if I have a Hydramon, right, I can go into Rafflesimon for 1 first if I have something under it, of course under the Hydramon, and then stun a Digimon, which is crazy. Stun usually comes only in blue, so I'm happy to see it here with green. Rafflesimon's an option that I like to use a lot. Samādhi, Śānti, suspend yourself to suspend your opponent, and they can unsuspend yourself. Turn. Gran Del Sol, pretty solid option card. If you have 2 suspended Digimon, it costs you 6, and it bottom decks one of your opponent's Digimon that is suspended. Pretty good. HPD, every green deck has to run HPD. And last but not least, 3 green memory boost. We don't run tamers. You'll notice there's no tamers here, so it's all grass, no breaks. We run green memory boost. If you don't have any of your rookies, if you don't have any of your cheap level 4s, it's still green memory boost, right? To look for your cards. This deck is incredible. I like playing it. It overwhelms your opponent sometimes, and if you play smart, it can do a lot of damage. Right? So thank you guys so much for watching this Bloomlordmon deck profile. It is a very fun deck, and I hope you get to play it. And you know, maybe take some advantage of some of the spice that we have here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.